My name is Nathan Hochman. I'm the District Attorney of Los Angeles County. Today I am announcing that the LA County District Attorney's Office will be aggressively going after all fraudsters who have tried to rip off monies going to childhood sex abuse victims and survivors from the LA County settlement of over $4 billion. Now, here's what I want to make sure that we understand about how AB 218, which led to this $4 billion settlement, came about, and how the fraudsters are potentially ripping off money that should be actually going to these victims of childhood sex abuse. Let me start with AB 218, and actually before I even get there, I want to thank a certain group, which are the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, Chair Catherine Barger, Hilda Solis, Holly Mitchell, Janice Hahn, and Lindsay Horvath. I want to thank each and every one of the members of the County Board of Supervisors for two things: their commitment to making sure that children who have basically been sexually abused during their childhood are recognized and compensated for that trauma and that extreme loss that they have suffered at the hands of individuals who worked for Los Angeles County. And the time period's important, from 1959 all the way to the present, with thousands of cases being filed for times that occurred back in the 1970s, the 1980s, the 1990s, and the 2000s. So I very much appreciate the LA County Board of Supervisors and the District Attorney's Office commitment to these victims of childhood sex abuse to make sure that abuse is both recognized and compensated. And in connection with that, there are also an additional group of people, and these are the potential fraudsters. They looked at this opportunity to compensate these true victims of sex abuse as an opportunity to personally and profit and engage in some of the most greedy and heinous conduct at the expense of these victims. And we are going to aggressively go after them. Now, to understand how we got to this point, let me take you back a bit into history on how AB 218 came to be. And there's a timeline all over to my left. And what the timeline basically shows is that in October of 2019, Governor Gavin Newsom signed this bill, AB 218. And by the way, if you live in Los Angeles County, or for that matter, anywhere in the state of California, and you are anywhere from, and you're of any age, you better know the numbers and the letters AB 218. It is going to control the financial health of every county, every city, and every school district for the next 25 to 30 years. So anybody listening to this, look up and make sure you know about AB 218. Because what happened is this legislation was signed and passed in 2019. And what it said is that starting on January 1st, 2020, the statute of limitations to bring a case for someone who had suffered childhood sex abuse got continued an additional 3 years. Now, many of the statute of limitations to bring these types of charges had basically said that you had up until the age of 26 to file a lawsuit against anyone who had victimized you. And in addition, it said that if you didn't realize the trauma till after the age of 26, you had 3 additional years from the time you could document you realized the trauma connected to the sexual abuse you had experienced. That was the old law. But what had happened is that a whole number of people did not file their lawsuits within those time frames. And Gavin Newsom and the state legislature decided through AB 218 that they were going to give them another 3 years. But this 3 years is basically if you have ever suffered sexual abuse in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, all the way up to 2020. And the statute of limitation had long since run. You could actually have 3 additional years to file your claim. between January 1st, 2020 and January 1st, 2023. But the law went a little bit farther than that. Instead of in the future, you having that limit at the age of 26 to file your claim, the law said you now have up to the age of 40 to file your claim. So even if you missed this 3-year period between January 1st, 2020 and January 1st, 2023, you now had an additional statute of limitations up until the age of 40 instead of 26. And they extended the statute of limitations dealing with when you experience that trauma. So now if you experience that trauma related to your sexual abuse, instead of 3 years to file the claim, you had an additional 5 years to file the claim. Now, when AB 218 was passed, this affected every county, every city, and every school district across California, in addition to other governmental and private entities. And when the state of California passed this, it provided $0. $0 to pay for what they knew would be billions and billions and billions of dollars of compensation that were now going to be faced by every county, city, and school district. So what ends up happening is between January 1st, 2020 and 2025, thousands of cases come in against Los Angeles County, focusing on situations dealing with our probation office going all the way back to 1959. Now, most of the records in connection with juveniles who are in these facilities are destroyed after 10 years. So when these lawsuits came in saying that this had happened 20, 30, 40 years ago, there was no way effectively to defend against these lawsuits because we couldn't contest any of these claims. And again, a huge number of these claims are valid claims, but there is no way one way or the other to prove against it and engage in the litigation that would then have to unfold with over 11,000 claims that initially came in. So what ends up happening is that the LA County Board of Supervisors approves a settlement, a $4 billion settlement, which originally was for 6,800 cases that eventually ballooned to over 11,000 cases. And that was back in April of this year, April of 2025. And what happened is they enacted a structure in which they would actually do their best to vet as many of these cases as possible. Each one of the claimants had to submit under penalty of perjury basically a statement of their case that describes how, who, what, when, and how they suffered the sexual abuse in whatever time period they suffered it at the hands of some official of Los Angeles County. And that is a process that has been going on for months. But what it sadly attracted when this settlement came out, a settlement, by the way, that was going to have a minimum amount of money that was going to go to any valid claimant in the 6 figures, up to 7-figure settlements, is it attracted fraudsters. Now, the fraudsters come in a variety of different ways. These can be individual claimants that never suffered sexual abuse at any point at the hands of Los Angeles County, but they looked at this potential settlement as a way to get some free money. At least for them, it's free money, but it's not free. Every penny that a fraudster gets is a penny taken away from a sex abuse victim that validly and legitimately suffered that abuse at the hands of someone of Los Angeles County. So it is not free money. And not only did the claimants get involved with this, but the claimants aren't representing themselves. Every one of these claimants has an attorney that's representing them. Many of these claimants have to actually submit medical records with a medical provider certifying the situation that they are claiming to have experienced. So, with respect to these fraudsters, and we estimate that there are a significant number of fraudsters involved in these settlement claims, in these fraudulent settlement claims, we're going to go after them. We're going to go after them aggressively. We're going to go after them to put them behind bars, and we're going to go after them to send a message to any potential fraudulent claimants in the future, to anybody who assists those claims, including the lawyers and law firms, that if you want to try and rip off Los Angeles County, if you want to go and rip off sex abuse survivors, you will be arrested, you will be prosecuted, and you will be punished. Now, one of the ways, though, that we are going to make a reach out to try and get this information to the district attorney's office so that we can do our job and do it as quickly as possible, is that I am sending a message to the people who have filed the false claims. If you're any one of these 11,000 plus people that ended up filing a false claim, here is my message to you. Come to the LA County District Attorney's Office, and you can reach out to us in one of two ways. You can call the number that's the LA County Fraud Hotline. It's 844-901-0001, or visit the part of our website, which is fraud.lacounty.gov/AB218. If you come in and you basically tell us, look, I submitted a fraudulent claim or lawsuit, I am willing to fully cooperate with your investigation. I am willing to be very truthful with everything I'm going to say, and I'm going to describe every single person who assisted me in participating in submitting this fraudulent lawsuit. We will not use your words against you in any criminal prosecution. That is our commitment. Now, this does not apply to any lawyer. It does not apply to any law firm. It does not apply to anyone who assisted a lawyer or a law firm. It applies to no medical provider or professional involved with this. This offer is only to the people who submitted the actual fraudulent claims. They are the claimants or the plaintiffs in these lawsuits, that we are encouraging you strongly, before we come and get you, if you come to us first and you truthfully, fully cooperate in this investigation, then your statements will not be used against you in any criminal prosecution against you. So I wanted to take this opportunity again to thank the Board of Supervisors for both their commitment to sex abuse survivors and their commitment, and it's going to take resources to go after all these fraudsters. So thank you, Board of Supervisors, for that dual commitment. And I say to the people out in Los Angeles County, and especially to the sex abuse survivors, that we stand with you. We will fight again. We will prosecute any of the sex abusers. Unfortunately, many of these folks, because of the age of these cases being decades old, are either past or no longer with us in any capacity, or no longer work for the LA County, any department in LA County. But to the extent that there are any sex abuse victims that can identify abusers that we can prosecute, you have my commitment that we will build those cases beyond a reasonable doubt, and at that time bring the charges against them.